Boredom is a dangerous thing. It's a quiet predator, stalking the edges of your routine, waiting for a crack to appear. For me, that crack formed late one Tuesday night, scrolling through the surface web, then deeper into the shadowed corners of the internet I usually avoided. I wasn't looking for trouble, just something different, something to break the monotony of my existence. That's when I stumbled upon it, a marketplace on the dark web. It was surprisingly clean, almost sterile, a stark contrast to the chaotic reputation of the deep net. Among the usual illicit wares, I found a listing that caught my eye. Mystery box, unveiling the unknown, all sales final. It was priced ridiculously low, almost as if it were a joke. My rational brain screamed scam, but the bored part of me, the one craving a thrill, whispered, what if? I bought it, used a burner crypto wallet, a VPN, and a shipping address that led to a dead drop in a city 3 hours away from mine. I expected nothing. Maybe a brick, maybe a cheap knockoff, maybe just silence. What I got a week later was a small, nondescript package delivered to the drop point exactly as promised. It was wrapped in plain brown paper, sealed with cheap tape. No return address, no branding, just a box. Inside, nestled in a meager handful of packing peanuts, was a single item, an old, generic USB drive. It was the kind you'd find forgotten in a junk drawer, scratched and faded. No labels, no distinguishing marks. My heart sank a little. This was it? A cheap USB? Some kind of elaborate, low-effort scam. I almost tossed it in the bin right then and there. But curiosity, that persistent little demon, gnawed at me. What if it wasn't a scam? What if it contained something interesting? I took it home, plugged it into an old, wiped laptop I kept for sketchy downloads, a machine completely disconnected from my main network. Better safe than sorry, I reasoned. The drive contained only one file. It was named simply observation.mp4. The file size was enormous, far too large for a short video. My brow furrowed, I clicked play. The screen flickered to life. The video was a live feed, or at least it appeared to be. It showed a simple, empty room. The lighting was dim, a single weak bulb casting long shadows. There was a bed, unmade, a worn wooden dresser, and a small desk with a chair. Nothing remarkable, just a room. And then I saw it. In the bottom right corner of the screen, a digital timestamp. It wasn't a static date. It was running, ticking away seconds, minutes, hours. It read 312:47, over 300 hours. That was almost 2 weeks of continuous recording. What was this? Some kind of weird art project? A security camera test footage? I was about to close the video, dismiss it as a strange, uninteresting piece of internet detritus, when a chill, colder than any winter wind, snaked its way up my spine. My breath hitched. I leaned closer to the screen, my eyes tracing the contours of the room in the video. The unmade bed, the crumpled sheets, one corner folded back just so. The worn wooden dresser with a faint scratch on its top surface near the right edge. The small desk, cluttered with a few books and a half-empty coffee mug. It was my bedroom, my actual physical bedroom, the one I was sitting in right now. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat in the sudden silence of the room. I looked around, my gaze darting from the laptop screen to the familiar objects around me. The video was a mirror, a perfect, chilling reflection of my own personal space. But how? How was this possible? The angle of the shot. It was from the far corner of my room, high up near the ceiling. There was no camera there, no hidden device I knew of. I had lived in this apartment for years. I was meticulous about my privacy. A wave of nausea washed over me. I felt a primal animalistic fear grip me. I scrambled off my chair, my eyes wide, scanning every inch of my bedroom ceiling. Nothing, just the plaster, the paint, no tiny lens, no blinking light, no wire. It was as if the camera were invisible, or not even there. I rushed back to the laptop, my hands shaking. The timestamp continued to tick. 313.02, 313.03. It had been recording for over 2 weeks. 2 weeks of my life, captured without my knowledge. Every movement, every moment of vulnerability, every private act. It was all there, somewhere, on this single, enormous video file. The implications were a physical blow. Someone had been watching me, not just watching, but recording, for 14 days. And they had sent me the evidence, sent it to me in a mystery box from the dark web. It wasn't a random purchase, it was targeted. They knew my address, or at least the dead drop I used. They knew my interest in the dark web. They knew me. Panic began to set in. I disconnected the laptop from the internet, unplugged it from the wall, as if that would stop anything. The video was already there playing, a silent accusation. The empty room on screen, identical to the empty room I was now frantically searching. I spent the next hour tearing my bedroom apart. I moved the bed, pulled out the dresser, emptied the desk drawers. I examined every nook, every cranny, every air vent, every electrical outlet. Nothing. Not a single trace of a device. It was maddening. It was impossible. Yet there it was, playing on the screen. My room, my life. I pulled out my phone, ready to call the police, but hesitated. What would I even say? Officer, I bought a mystery box from the dark web, and it contained a video of my own bedroom, filmed by an invisible camera for 2 weeks. They'd think I was insane, or worse, involved in something illegal. The dark web connection alone would raise red flags. So I sat there, in the middle of my now disheveled room, staring at the laptop. The timestamp continued its relentless march. 345:11. The room in the video remained empty, just still, silent footage of my private space. I decided to watch it, all of it, or at least as much as I could bear. I fast-forwarded through hours of static empty room. My fingers trembled on the trackpad. I saw myself, a blurry figure entering and exiting the frame, sleeping, dressing, reading, living. It was horrifyingly intimate, like watching a ghost of myself, unaware of its own haunting. And then, at the 301-hour mark, something changed. I was fast-forwarding, but paused when I noticed a subtle shift in the lighting. It wasn't the sun or my room lights, it was a faint, almost imperceptible glow emanating from behind the dresser. It pulsed softly, a barely there luminescence. I rewound, played it in real time. The glow was there, faint but undeniable. It was too subtle to have been noticed during my frantic search. It was as if the camera itself was emitting it, or something behind the camera. My breath hitched again. This wasn't just a recording. This was a live feed. The timestamp was proof, and the subtle change in light meant something was happening right now. Something I couldn't see with my own eyes, but the camera could. I reached out, my fingers brushing the back of the dresser in my actual room. Cold, solid, nothing unusual. Yet on the screen, that faint, eerie glow pulsed. I watched for what felt like an eternity. The glow slowly intensified, casting strange, elongated shadows across the floor in the video. The room remained empty, but the atmosphere grew thick with an unseen presence. My skin crawled. I felt a profound sense of dread, as if I were not just watching a video, but witnessing a slow, agonizing birth of something truly malevolent. Then a flicker, a distortion in the video feed, like old analog horror where the image briefly warps and glitches. When it cleared, the room was still empty, but the subtle glow was gone. Instead, a faint, almost imperceptible shimmer hung in the air, right where the camera's perspective should have been, like heat haze, but indoors. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was fatigue, but it persisted, a shimmering distortion like a tear in reality, hovering high in the corner of my room, visible only through the lens of this terrifying, unknown device. And then a sound, not from my laptop speakers, but from my actual room. A soft, almost inaudible click. It was so faint, I almost dismissed it as my imagination. But I heard it again, click, click. It was coming from the corner where the camera was positioned in the video. The corner where the shimmer now hung. My eyes darted to that corner. Nothing, just the wall. But the sound, it was distinct, like a tiny mechanism activating. I glanced back at the screen. The timestamp had advanced to 3:02:05:40. The shimmer was still there, and then a shadow moved across it. A shadow that didn't belong to anything in my room. It was too fluid, too amorphous. It seemed to absorb the light around it, deepening the darkness in that corner. I felt a cold dread settle in my stomach. This wasn't just a camera. This was something else, something that could manifest, something that could be in my room, unseen by my eyes, but visible through its own infernal lens. The shadow solidified ever so slightly, not into a distinct shape, but into a denser void, a patch of absolute blackness against the already dim room. It pulsed, subtly, in time with the barely audible clicks. I finally understood. The mystery box wasn't just a delivery of a camera. It was an invitation, a signal. The video wasn't just surveillance. It was a live fed for something that was now here, in my room. The timestamp clicked to 3:02 a.m. On the screen, the patch of absolute darkness in the corner of my room began to expand, slowly, deliberately. It wasn't just a shadow anymore. It was a void, a tear in the fabric of my reality, growing larger, consuming the light around it. And then, from within that growing darkness, a single pinprick of light appeared. It wasn't a reflection, it was an eye, an impossibly bright, unblinking, predatory eye, staring directly out of the screen, directly at me. It was black, deeper than any night, with a faint, iridescent sheen, like oil on water. And it was focused, utterly, terrifyingly focused. I screamed, a raw, guttural sound that tore from my throat. I threw the laptop across the room. It hit the wall with a sickening crunch, the screen shattering into a spiderweb of cracks. The image of the room, of that eye, distorted, stretched, and then winked out. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. I was breathing in ragged gasps, my body trembling uncontrollably. I scrambled backward until my back hit the wall opposite the destroyed laptop. My eyes were fixed on the corner where the camera had been, the corner where the void had been. There was nothing there now, just the wall, the same plaster, the same paint. No shimmer, no shadow, no eye. But I knew it wasn't gone. It had simply retreated from my immediate vision. It was still there, waiting. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even move from my position against the wall. Every creak of the old apartment building, every rustle of the wind outside sent my heart into a frenzy. I kept picturing that eye, that impossible knowing eye, staring out of the darkness. The next morning, the first thing I did was pack a bag, just the essentials. I couldn't stay, not in that apartment, not in that room. The thought of being watched, of that unseen entity lurking, was unbearable. I left everything else, my furniture, my books, my memories. They felt tainted, corrupted by the gaze of whatever had invaded my space. I locked the door behind me, the key feeling heavy and useless in my hand. What good was a lock against something that could manifest invisibly? I drove for hours, aimlessly, putting as much distance as possible between myself and that apartment. I ended up in a small, anonymous motel in a town I'd never heard of. I checked in under a fake name, paid cash. I haven't been back to my apartment. I don't know if I ever will. The laptop is still there, shattered, a silent monument to my terrifying discovery. But sometimes, when I'm alone in a quiet room, I feel it. A subtle shift in the air pressure, a faint, almost imperceptible click. And I wonder, was that USB drive just a delivery device, or was it the curse itself? Did buying that mystery box open a door that can never truly be closed? I've changed my phone, my email, my entire online presence. I live in a constant state of low-grade paranoia. Every shadow seems deeper. Every reflection seems to hold a secret. I avoid windows at night. I check the corners of rooms, instinctively searching for an invisible lens, a shimmering distortion. Because the most terrifying thought isn't that it's gone, it's that it followed me, that it's still observing, that the observation.mp4 wasn't a past event, but a continuous live stream, and that somewhere out there, someone or something is still watching and waiting.
Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you liked this video, please hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.